After a couple-hour drive up the mountain, we unloaded our stuff, put most of the weight on my kayak here with the rollers, and Jake's got the other kayak on his back. He carried it. It's up there. The dam's up there. It's about a mile. And we drug everything up there, and he carried that one on his back. It was pretty brutal. The road's pretty rough, so the wheels were it's pretty light. They were pretty tore up by the time we got there. And then this is a video of us leaving, but just to get a perspective, we drug the kayaks up and over this gate, and then we went over, and we had to, carry everything over to another area you'll see in a second where we lowered everything into the water and then climbed down a ladder. And then we head out. It's probably about 4 or 5 mile paddle in one of the most beautiful lakes that there is that I've ever been to. But there's all kinds of beautiful high country lakes up here in the high Sierras of California. But yeah, with a little ice chest and had some beverages, had the stuff to cook some trout. We were a little bit of food, mainly just going to be eating trout tonight. And my mom and uncle showed up to kind of send us off. They wanted to come check it out, and there's a log jam there, and got the kayaks down there. Jake's down there with his, and it's pretty cool to have this whole lake to yourself. We didn't see another person the whole time we were out there. Basically just had a really big lake all to ourselves. Paddled across. That's a 4 or 5 mile paddle there. Way off in the distance, kind of in that little V in front of you is the inlet. That's where we're headed. And I'm dragging a brokeback German brown Rapala, and I think on my other rod I have a night crawler. Just dragging worms and plugs, and just gonna see what happens. This video doesn't really do it justice, but this lake is just absolutely gorgeous. These shelves and cliffs to the left and right even are hundreds of feet tall. And it's just amazing. It's just a beautiful place to be. Super peaceful. Get out, get away from everybody. No cell phone service, no none of that stuff bothering you. It's just you. And well, it was just me, my cousin, and Mother Nature. It's awesome. And wouldn't you know it, hooked up on a fish on the rod with the Rapala on it. Turned out to be a nice rainbow, decent size, chunky one, and at this point we were keeping everything because that's dinner. So get him unhooked, set him in the kayak, and keep paddling. But what a great way to start the trip. Fish in the first 10-15 minutes probably. And then Jake caught himself a little rainbow just before we were getting to the inlet. And once we got to the inlet, we had to climb up and over the mountain to get to the mouth of the river. And that's where the good fishing starts. And it didn't take long. Started hooking into the fish right away. Good fighter. Found a nice little, kind of like a little ramp where I could just shoot the fish right up the rock. That way I wouldn't lose them. This was on night crawlers, so basically it was just taking night crawlers and using a worm threader and threading worms all the way onto the hook and line, and managed to pull a nice rainbow out here. He swallowed the hook, so we're going to save him and eat him for dinner. I've gotten pretty good over the years. I can just stick my index finger down the fish's mouth and find the tip of the hook, push it down and twist. And usually, even if a fish has swallowed the hook, I can get it out and sometimes save them if we need to. And look at that. Jake caught himself another one. Nice rainbow. Making for a pretty good day so far. I set my rod down for a second. Sure enough, boom, fish on. The spot just kept panning out. Fish after fish. It looks like he was giving a pretty good fight there. There's a convenient little pool there. You just reel them up, pull the hook out, and keep them fresh. Water trickling in slowly, so just push that hook down, pop that hook right out. And then we hiked our way up a little further up the river. And I mean, as soon as you throw that night crawler in there, it's fish on.
She says I'm on a love for father, and I know she likes it. She wants a man that's got his game locked.
It's non-stop catching fish, one after the other. But here, if you're not catching fish, it's probably because your hook's exposed. I pull it in, check the hook. You got to keep that hook hidden because the trout, they're smart. They don't want nothing to do with the exposed hook. So I figured I was cast out a couple times before that and was getting no action. But you can see I just threw it out, fixed the hook, just threw it out. Doesn't take long. You'll see it'll be fish on here any second. There it is. Fish on. Another good fighting rainbow. Occasionally we will catch browns up in this spot, but on this trip we didn't land any browns. But man, we've caught some huge German browns in this zone. And you got to you can feel almost it, the way they're beating around in rocks and stuff if they're hooked real good. But I like to get them as close as I can to the bank, and at this point I'm not too worried about losing one because we've already caught a bunch of fish, and at this point I think I saved this fish. Just pop that hook out. It's good to get your hands wet before you touch the fish, because the rocks, your hands, as soon as they get out of that water, their skin's actually burning. And I could be a little more gentle with the fish, but it is what it is. I try to be as conscientious as I can. But we let him go. We already have plenty of fish for dinner, and so at this point, it's time to pack it up and head back to the kayaks. So we climb back up over the mountain. There's Jake. He's a youngster there. He's a couple years older now. Head over the mountain, get in the kayak. So we hop in, press fast forward so you can get the idea, but we got to paddle through this log jam, and it takes a while. Toss the fish in the kayak, and you can see we're heading back up towards the inlet of the lake, mouth of the river, and yeah, there's a huge log jam. Kind of take a little peek and find your best way in, but we just paddle straight through the wood. Probably the size of a football field, 100 yards or at least. You got to paddle through wood. Get up to our spot where we're gonna contemplate setting up camp. But yeah, it was just fish after fish. Here's a video. Jake's got a little rainbow in his hand, and in the background there's me bringing one in. sometimes you catch these little guys and just do your best to, let them live longer, pull the hook and worm out without doing much damage to them, and let them go. Catch them another day. And there's just an awesome campsite. It's not like your average campsite, at a campground or anything, but where people have been staying for 40, 50 years since they built this dam. It's a cool rock that just has like a crater out of it that they've made into a little spot to start a fire, and they leave grills from old barbecues there and pots and pans and stuff. We ended up using our own tinfoil we brought. We always bring tinfoil and some seasoning, some butter. Put a slice of butter inside each one of these trout, and then sprinkle some seasonings on them and wrap them up and let them kind of cook in their own juices and just feast on trout. You can't beat it. It's delicious. Super filling. I mean, we were stuffed after this. Those seasonings we're using, I believe it's garlic salt, black pepper, some lemon pepper, maybe a little bit of onion powder, and I just mix it all up in a Ziploc bag before we head out, and then you got yourself some killer tasting dinner. The next morning, same thing, right back at it. This spot you can always catch fish here. It's pretty easy. So we reeled up a couple more fish. Got our fill of catching fish, and didn't take long for us to pack up camp, and we didn't stay too long that morning. We just packed up camp and headed out. But I had to catch this nice one, one more chunky rainbow before the sun came over the hill. And as to be expected, the paddle back was gorgeous. One of the reasons we left earlier that morning is you can see how calm the water is, but in the afternoons, even sometimes late morning on this lake, the wind picks up and it blows up the canyon, which makes it really hard to paddle back. So doing the same thing, dragging that Rapala, the German brown Rapala, and a night crawler. But yeah, you just can't beat that peaceful feeling right there. Up there in the high Sierras, got a whole lake to yourself. Just caught tons of fish with your cousin, who was kind of a youngster at that point. I think he was maybe 15, 16, kind of teaching him the ways, getting him out and about. Yeah, just paddle back. Time to go back to reality. Any of you who have GoPros understand that they don't do much justice for things off in the distance. They're real good and clear up close, but yeah, that granite face right in front of me has to be 1,000 feet tall. It's just amazing. And here we go again, back up and over this 12-foot gate. And you only got one hand to climb with, because the other one's, I don't know why we didn't climb up with the rope and then pull the kayak up, but maybe we just felt like manhandling the kayak, I don't know. But we got them done, got them up and over, and got home safely.